Let me move for Nancy.
I was wondering if you could clarify something. In a number of statements, you've hesitated to talk about what military action, if any, the U.S. would take against the Russians for violating the cessation of hostilities. You said that we're watching the situation very, very carefully and yet can't say whether the Russians were responsible for hitting several MSF hospitals. And I guess I'm drawing an inference, and I'm curious if it's correct, that the military's understanding of the cessation of hostilities is strictly to get in humanitarian aid? Is that correct?
My understanding, Nancy, is that this is an agreement that Secretary Kerry negotiated both to get aid in, and it was his hope to build towards a peaceful resolution of the Syrian civil war. Again, probably a question better posed to the State Department, but
Well,
that's the
what the military's understanding of that cessation of hostilities.
that's our understanding, is that this is an effort to try and build towards a peaceful resolution of this conflict. And again, our focus remains on ISIL, and we're going to continue to prosecute that part of our campaign.
Right, but if your focus is on ISIL,
Yeah.
and you don't know whether they've hit several MSF hospitals, and you say at the same time, this
Nancy,
is a if I could finish, please.
Sure.
This is a test for the Russians. I don't understand what the test of the Russians is, because I'm not hearing any sort of military consequence for a violation of the cessation of hostilities. So that's what I'm trying to reconcile. What is the U.S. military plan to enforce that cessation of hostilities? And because what it appears to be happening is Russia is exploiting the period until Friday and hitting civilian targets, several of them causing more panic rather than a peaceful resolution as you describe it. So I'm just trying to understand what the U.S. military's plans are to enforce the cessation of hostilities if it is seen that Russia is violating them. Because what I've heard you say so far is that essentially there is no plan, and that the cessation of hostilities is really about getting humanitarian aid in.
Our effort, and again, I refer you to the State Department in terms of the details of the agreement itself, but that cessation of hostilities is intended to try and not only get humanitarian aid in, but to be a building block towards a wider resolution of the Syrian civil war. We support the efforts of the State Department and Secretary Kerry to try and achieve that. We will watch and see, as the rest of the world should, what Russia does in this interim period and whether or not they abide by their own agreements on March 1st. You raise really good questions about the conduct of the Russians in this intervening period and what they've done from the air during the past few days. I can tell you that the U.S. and coalition forces were not responsible for hitting those hospitals. And again, we're not in a position here to say definitively who was, but there's certainly some questions raised about the conduct of the Russians in the region over the past few days. And we, like everyone else, will continue to watch Russia's actions, not just their words, as well as the actions of other players on the ground as this cessation of hostilities is supposed to take effect on March 1st.
Let me try one more time. Does the U.S. military have any role in enforcing the cessation of hostilities?
The U.S. military will continue to engage in the fight against ISIL. We will be, of course, monitoring the cessation of hostilities. We will be keeping a close eye on who abides by it and who does not. And we will be in a position to say clearly and to respond if necessary if there are violations of that cessation of hostilities.
Well, wait a minute, Peter. What did you